This is Deborah Atkinson, and you're listening to Flipping 50, where I address your top questions and the things you struggle with most so you can have more energy and less decision fatigue about what to eat, how to move, and learn how to change your thoughts so you can flip 50 and have the life and energy you love in this second half. And we're going to have fun today, just a disclaimer. My guest today is Juju Hook, and that already sounds fun, doesn't it? Juju Hook is a brand strategist, author, coach, and speaker dedicated to rebranding middle age for women. Her goal is to inspire 1 million women to live out the second half of their lives with more passion and joy than the first. Her proprietary system uncovers the one question, 3 problems, and 6 lies that midlife women must recognize and overcome in order to live out the dreams that they've set aside or kept hidden until now. Her philosophy is this: by looking at the truth, we free ourselves to pursue goals that have, until now, been beyond our wildest imagination. And in the process, we become a whole lot happier and groovier to be around. Juju is a firm believer in both big, hairy goals and the enduring truth that our pasts are not reliable predictors of our futures. She ran her first marathon at 40, completed her 200-hour yoga teacher certification at 45, ran her first triathlon, a half marathon, at 46, and walked away from a 25-year career and started an online business at 47. And at 50, she wrote her first book. You're going to love this: Hot Flashes, Carpools, and Dirty Martinis, the quintessential guide for turning midlife into prime time. Welcome, Juju.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
Okay, before I go any further, I have to know more about your name. So it's just dang fun. So tell me about that. I mean, did your parents call you that, or where'd that come from?
So my name is actually Julia, which isn't nearly as exciting. And, you know, I was a brand strategist for many, many years. And my dad always called me Juju when I was a little girl, from the time that I was little. And all of the kids in our family have always called me Juju. And I'm married to a German, and in Germany, I'm Tante Juju, which is Aunt Juju. And as I released my online brand, as I kind of brought myself, you know, to the motivational world, Juju was just the name that really matched my mission the best. And, you know, everybody remembers it. So it was a perfect brand move, and it's right in line with the message.
I totally agree. But then the marketer in me, and we all are, right? But
yeah, of course.
Now I'm like, could you have an any better last name?
I know. Well, you know, is that great? So before I branded myself as Juju, I owned an agency, a branding agency, for 15 years called The Hook.
Of course.
So yeah, my tagline was sometimes all you need is the right hook. And so I was really blessed. You know, my husband's name is Brett Schneider, which is why I kept my name. Because it's real hard to brand Brett Schneider.
Thank you, honey, but no. Yeah.
Yeah, it just wasn't working for me or anyone else.
That is so cool. Okay, so let's talk about you a little bit and the dirt. So at 50, you wrote this book. So where are you right now?
So yeah, I'm getting ready to release it. You know, I'm really excited about this. I had a very kind of existential moment at 50 that I think a lot of women have, right? Which is that I felt restless and uninspired at the same time that I was kind of reaching my peak success in my career, and things just started to shift. And I thought, you know, I got to do this. So I spent, I was actually 47 when that started to happen. So I spent about 3 years researching and writing the book, and I'm literally right on the cusp of releasing it and starting a new membership group for midlife women, and I'm thrilled. I can't remember the last time I felt so inspired and so turned on.
That's a perfect space to be in. So, okay, so after 25 years as a corporate brand strategist, you leave.
I walked away.
Why?
Yeah, so I worked for about 10 years on the client side in the financial industry and then went out and opened my own agency. And I had a big client shift. I had a client that was going to leave, and this particular client, a corporate client, was supporting a team of about 8 people. And I knew that I was going to have to go out and replace the business. And as I'd done so many times before, the ad industry is just brutal, right? As soon as you start a relationship with a client, you're actually counting down the days until it ends. And I just knew that I couldn't put on another navy blue suit and walk into another boardroom and stuff fat cash into the pockets of a corporate client. I don't know why I knew it. I just knew it. And I think that sort of contribution bell was starting to ring for me that happens to so many women, about the time that we have this menopausal shift and, our intuition kicks in. And I looked at my husband and said, I don't want to do this. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to be a motivational speaker. And then we both laughed and laughed. And then, I slept on it, and I woke up the next morning and said, that's what I want to do. I have a message and I want to talk about it. And it took me some time to really solidify that message. And so what I decided to do was to go online first and create a branding course for entrepreneurs. And almost exclusively the entrepreneurs that responded to me were women. And a good portion of them were midlife women, what I call PrimeTime women. And that really started the ball rolling. And I just have never looked back.
All right. So I have to ask you a side question here. So just to listeners, to be fair to Juju. So, we usually try to prepare our guests. We tell them, okay, here's what I think my audience would like. So she's got a list, and I'm totally flying off the list. Okay. So just to be fair, she has no idea what's coming. So my guess is that you have this rebranding thing because of you shared, these things that, your first marathon at 40, you really started going a different direction. Yeah. My guess is somehow, and of course the fitness pro in me loves that so many of these things were physical, that maybe were the catalyst to you like igniting something else and the power in you to do something else. So you're kind of taking what you've realized and packaging it, maybe using your analogies through brand strategy to develop this formula or this path for other women.
Yeah, I think what happened to me, and I write about this a little bit in the book, was I had a couple of moments right around this time where I realized I'd never really given myself a chance, that I'd kind of set up this sort of shadowed career to what I really wanted. So I've been writing my whole life. I got my undergraduate degree, in writing when I was 20. And since that time, I've been writing for other people, writing other people's words and selling other people's products. And I just had a realization that I had never given myself a chance. And I think through those athletic endeavors, especially in Ironman 70.3, which, I couldn't swim, I couldn't bike, and I couldn't run. So that was a big feat for me. I think what I realized is that I wasn't a quitter, and I had always kind of perceived myself as a quitter. I think we all sort of fear that there's a quitter inside of us, right? And those things that we don't finish or that we don't follow through on, they plague us. And so I think I learned through those physical feats that I could be a finisher if I wanted. And if I gave myself a chance, that it could be huge. And if I didn't, I was going to regret it for the rest of my life. And so it just was a real pivotal time for me. And, I had to kind of pull up my big girl panties, and I've had to many times since then. There's been a lot of times when I've thought, what am I doing? But it's just been a series of sort of trials and course corrections, I guess.
Yeah, I love that. I just want to bring this up and throw it in. And I don't know that there's a question in here, but there's certainly an analogy. And with another woman, also, actually, she's in her 60s already, and also had this career change kind of from marketing to coaching. And she calls that, what I'm kind of interpreting for you, it was the quitter in you. She calls it, I'm lying to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do. And I talk a lot about lies in my book. And, we lie to ourselves. And the interesting thing is that, especially for women in prime time, a lot of those lies we pick up from what the marketplace tells us or what industry tells us. So we hear lies and then we repeat them to ourselves, and then we put them on and wear them around like the latest fashion, and we live them out. And so I do think that there's a lot. It's very easy to lie to ourselves to stay small, because we love certainty. Our brains love certainty. It's much easier to remain certain, even if certainty means that we never live out what we want to live.
Yeah. Definitely. Okay. So you're on this mission. Your new book tells your story.
Yep.
How will it help other women who are shifting into 50s from their 40s and launching into the second half? And I so love that you use this terminology, because this is my language, sister.
Yeah. I mean, this is it, right? This is the second half. So what I really talk about is I talk about the 8 to 11 time slot. So I believe that this is prime time for women. I think that we are the most qualified and the most sound and the most ready that we've ever been in this 8 to 11 time slot. So we ought to launch our pilot. This is when everybody's watching. No more, reruns of Laverne and Shirley. So what the book's going to help women to do is a couple of things. First of all, in my research about menopause and going through this, one of the things I think that women may feel and might not really understand as universal is that your intuition really kicks in around this time, and our need to kind of pick up unfinished business, often from the time, when we were young or even from adolescence, kind of kicks in. And so it's a time when our dreams revisit. And so what the book does is it really helps women to get in touch with, what is it that I really want? And that's not a question that we ask ourselves freely or easily. And then if you have big things that you want, and I know that most women do, the book is designed to help you get them, to help you understand how to start and how to follow through, but also to stop the things that would hold you back, like the voice in your head that tells you that you can't or that you shouldn't, or these kind of 6 lies that are constantly floating around, that are told to us about middle age. And this belief that our past is a predictor of our future. So, oftentimes we believe that just because I haven't done this yet, I can't do it, or I never will do it. And that's not the case. Your past is not a reliable predictor of your future. And the book takes you through all of that.
Love it. Love it. Okay. So what is it? What do you think gets in the way of a woman playing big? What's the common denominator?
So I think the common denominator is that we believe that our thoughts are reality. So that sounds really simple, but, you can't believe everything you think. And all day long, these thoughts are just firing at us. And the majority of them in relation to playing big, right, and getting what you want, the majority of those thoughts are not real super supportive. I mean, the voice in your head is not really your friend. And we believe that because we have these thoughts that they are us, right? We are our thoughts. And it sounds so simple, but we're not. And so what I teach women in the book is kind of how to step back and recognize that these thoughts are happening to you. They're happenings the same way that lightning is happening, or, the door is slamming. And if you can watch them rather than, wrapping a big story around them or responding to them, that you can get past them. And the thoughts are oftentimes produced by feelings, right? And while our thoughts are not real, our feelings are real, very real, right? They're visceral. We can even feel them in our bodies, but our feelings are not facts. And so what I find is this kind of underlying tendency for not just midlife women, but all human beings, right, to believe that our thoughts are reality and our feelings are facts. And if you can get around that, and get the tools that you need to sort of reframe things, then you can keep moving forward day after day. Without that, it's really easy to just lay down and say, this was never meant for me. I was never meant to have this.
Love that concept. And so true. So feelings are real. I love it when men and women have arguments. Maybe nobody gets that, but I love it when the guy says, "You're just wrong." I'm like, "I'm telling you how I feel. That is not wrong. That is not wrong. Like, back up, take that back." But what our feelings do tell us is how we're thinking.
That's right. And we tend to think of our feelings as facts. So it's, one of the stories I talk about in the book that really illustrates it for me is that when I first met my husband, we kind of had a summer fling, and he was from Germany, and he flew back to Germany. And I had about a 6-month period where we were madly in love, and we just communicated back and forth from Germany to Southern California. And, I didn't have texting at the time or anything like that. And so it was me sending these big, long emails to him. And then he either wouldn't reply, or he'd reply with things like, okay, or love you, baby. Right. And then I would have these horrible, real feelings, right? My head's pounding, my stomach feels sick. I'm flushed, and I would interpret them. Right. I would interpret them as, he doesn't really love me. He's out with someone else. He's, all of this kind of cliche stuff, but it's true. And so your feelings inform your thoughts, and it's really easy to get that mixed up. Right. And so one of the things that I teach in the book is called cognitive reappraisal. So just as easily as I could, interpret these feelings as he doesn't love me, I could interpret them as, he's really busy, or, English is a second language. He doesn't really want to email me back. There's a million different ways to reappraise something. And that's a practice. It's a tool. So I don't want women to disregard their feelings. And I surely don't want to listen to any of the guys who tell me that mine are wrong or that they're not really happening. But I love the idea of reappraising them and saying, okay, I'm feeling this right now. It could mean this. It could mean this. It could mean this. And obviously, if we can start to reappraise in a way that serves us, it just works a lot better. And for those women in their 50s, like me, who are menopausal moms of pubescent teens, right? I mean, this is a show, okay, of hormones. And that reappraisal really, really helps. I used to be able to count to 10 when my son was a toddler, but now I have to count to 35 so that I can, attach alternate.
Yes, I do know. Yes,
to the stuff that's going on. So all that's in the book.
Love that. Okay, so what's the takeaway? So can we coach women who are listening right now? What could someone do or change their thoughts or an action differently to stop getting in their own way?
Okay, so the first thing I think that you can do to stop getting in your own way is to start to watch your thoughts, right? Because awareness is a huge part of this. And I hear women all the time say to me, Juju, I can't meditate, right? Or I can't sit still, or I can't do this. And you don't have to. You don't have to stop having thoughts or clear your mind, but you do have to watch them. And what I encourage women to do is to kind of imagine those thoughts as a prize fight, right? Because that's really what's happening. And you're not in the fight. You're in the audience. You're watching from outside the ring. And so if you can learn to be the watcher, it's really the first step. And what'll happen is that you'll have the same thoughts so often that you feel, I just got to get over this, right? I can't, is this again? And you start to see things just in a different way. So that's really is step one. And it sounds so silly and so basic. But I get so much resistance from women on this issue. And the biggest thing that I hear is, I can't stop thinking. I can't stop these thoughts. You're not going to stop them, but recognizing them and recognizing that they're not you and that they came from somewhere else, right? They happened to you is a first huge takeaway. And it just relieves so much pressure.
I love that. They happened to you.
Yeah, they happened to you.
You can choose what you do with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't have to wrap a big story around them or get emotionally involved in them. Sometimes I laugh at the stuff that comes into my head. I don't even know where it comes from, and what's really interesting is that the stuff that's in my head and the stuff that's in the heads of the women that I coach is the same stuff, right? It's universal. It's the collective. It's the same things that we're all afraid of. And, that's why it occurs to us. And it's literally is the part of you that's dying, crying out, right? If you decide that you're going to, write your book or do your big physical feat or open your business or travel the world or whatever it is you've waited your whole life to do, there's a part of you that's not going to want you to do that. And that part of you is going to cry out. And that's the collective, that we all have that in us, and we don't have to listen to it. We can acknowledge it and recognize it and then do whatever we want.
Love that. Yeah. The resistance, right? Bubbles up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Stephen Pressfield calls it the resistance. Yeah.
Yeah. Even though we choose it, change is one of the hardest things we are ever going to do.
It really is. And I think the two biggest sort of, things that keep us from change, right, is first this voice, right? The resistance. And then not really understanding how to follow through. Not really knowing what we need to do in order to follow through. And I think both of those things, if you can get both of those things under control, then you got a double whammy. You got a much better shot.
Yeah, love that. Agree. It's ironically, again, serendipity, I think here, but was just having a conversation with a client about, what's going on. And the challenge with her following through was that she couldn't connect the dots. It's not that she didn't have the discipline, but she just was not sure, which thing, if I do it, will get me to the next spot that I want to be at. And women want to know why, not just what, but why am I doing it?
Yeah, that's really interesting because one of the things I talk about in my book that I have a wonderful coach myself, and I'm a big why person, but why often takes me down rabbit holes. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that my coach kind of pointed out to me is, listen, why is really not an effective question to move you forward unless you're a scientist with a white lab coat on, right? If you really want to move forward, ask questions that are what and how and who, right? How do I get to this next place? But the why question, I think, often comes into play for me when I'm moving forward in two biggest steps, right? So I'm afraid I'm going to make a mistake. So, gosh, if I do this and it's not the right thing to do, or if I do this and it's not going to serve me, am I going to fail? Or am I going to have to take a step back? And so one of the things that I always encourage people to do, or women to do, is to act and course correct and act and course correct. That everything you do is a series of very small trials. And if you can break them down into smaller and smaller trials, they become you become less afraid. And it becomes less of a big deal if you do the wrong one, right? You can act and then correct and act and then correct. And that also is a practice. We just need to learn to do it.
Yeah, right. Siri's all the time telling me to take a U-turn, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes, those little tangents, those little side journeys turn out to be fun. It's like, well, I'm not going to do that again, but right, that didn't get me where I wanted to go, but that was fun while it lasted. So I think that takes some of the pressure off too. Exactly.
Yes. And that gotta be perfect. Gotta be right there.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're rebranding for middle age, really encouraging women to rebrand themselves. What do you think about this? Do we choose our brand, or is it already there and our job is just to uncover it?
Yeah, it's already there. But choosing your brand would indicate that you could kind of slap something on top of you, right? That it's that maybe you can kind of, not that you can't be whatever you want or accomplish whatever you want, but I like to, of course, from a branding standpoint, call it the juju, right? There's something inside you. There's something inside you that makes you special or different, or dare I say better than other people, in some particular way. And owning that, uncovering it and owning it is really necessary. Now, what you can create and should create is the messaging that you're going to bring to the rest of the world, right? How do you tell people about that? How do you show that in a way that people will respect you for it, or, step aside, or not judge you, or if they are judging you, not judging you out loud, right? So that you can move forward. So I think the messaging and how you show up, how you step into the brand can be crafted. But who you are, who you want to be, that's living inside you. And women kind of need to reach in and grab that. And I know that's not easy for a lot of primetime women. That, in fact, that kind of discomfort is what led me to write the book in the first place.
Love that. Really, really love that. And I was just thinking as you were describing that, it's like a business. You can kind of get constipated over thinking, what's my logo going to be? What are my colors going to be? What's the uniform shirt? But the brand really is whatever anybody's whispering about you in the locker room.
Exactly right. That's exactly right. Yes. And if what the people are whispering about you in the locker room isn't really an accurate depiction of who you are, almost always that's because what you're showing isn't what you have. Right. So I took so many female entrepreneurs through this ride of, what is the Juju? What's your single point of differentiation? What makes you different? And what I found was that the younger women, right, that they were really eager to kind of jump into it and to say, hey, this is me. And once I started to work with the midlife women and women who are in their 40s and 50s, and a lot of them had left careers and were opening businesses, or, they'd been through raising their kids for 20, however many years, and now they were going to launch this business, they were much less willing to put it out there. Right. They wanted to fall back on other things. And I had to really push these women forward. And that was so telling for me, because the women in midlife are ready, right? If you have a real problem, like if you need to solve a problem, you call a primetime women. You don't call a 20-year-old woman or a 50-year-old man. It's primetime women who know how to do things. So I was surprised that there was such an underlying, resistance to put that out there. And that's part of what spurred me on to write the book.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that. I think one of the hardest questions for a woman to answer when I'm working with someone, group or private, is, what do you want?
Yeah, it's women just can't do it. And I give some tricks in the book for that too. I take women through some exercises to find out what they want. It's just not a question that we've asked ourselves, because forever we've been fulfilling what someone else wants. Right. And we're taught not to be selfish, and we're taught, all of these different things about kind of putting what we want on the back burner, that it's irresponsible, that just all kinds of, hooey. Right. That is just not true.
That is just the word, hooey.
It is. It's just totally, it's crap. It's totally untrue. So, I think that really is just a huge part of it. And, we become real comfortable and confident in our roles. I'm somebody's mom and somebody's sister, or somebody's boss, somebody's employee, but we're not real comfortable and confident in our essence. And it's in our essence that's the glory. That's how we go big, right? This is what's inside of me. This is what I'm about. This is what I stand for. This is my talent, or this is my groove. That's where we go big. And it's not easy to do that if we continue to listen to the voice inside our head, or to what the world would tell us. So I'm all about pushing women past that point.
Love it. Okay. I'm going to back into a little corner here potentially, but do you think there is one that you could pick it? What's the most productive and juicy decade in a woman's life?
God, I hope it's my 70s, because I got my 50s and 60s all lined up, and I don't have anything planned for my 70s yet. And I really hope it gets better all the time. I'm going to say your 50s. I'm in that now, right? But I think something happens. I really think something happens around menopause. I know it happens at different times for different women, but I really think if we can open ourselves up as this shift occurs, the ability is there, the potential is there to just rock it. And I mean, I can feel it. Like I have certain days where I wake up and I'm just buzzing. I don't know what to do with the energy. And I haven't felt that since I was a kid.
Love that. Love that. And I think there are a lot of women out there who are eager for that as well. I mean, it is all the words used about menopause, the change, and the transition. And there is something going on. There is. It's kind of like, I heard one woman say this, and this has been a decade ago before I was really in this space myself. And she said, I feel like I've squeezed through too tight a tube, and now I'm out on the other side.
Yes, exactly. Totally. And what's so funny about it is that I went into this probably, from my early to mid 40s on, being kind of bummed about turning 50. And then when I did and I realized what was going to happen, I thought, why doesn't anyone tell the truth about this? Why is, you never hear anybody say, oh my gosh, I can't wait to be 50. Right? It's always this big kind of foot dragging and, I'm getting older. And I think that the world just really does us a disservice by not talking about how great this can be and how we can make it great. And I feel more, you kind of grow or die at some point, right? And the opportunity to grow now is just huge. I get it. And all of the 50-year-old women I know get it.
I agree. And I think that we are in the best time there's ever been to be in the second half of life. There's never been a better time. And we are raising the glass ceiling for future generations like no one has ever done. The baby boomers and those of us on the tail end of that baby boom are not willing to settle.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And, this anti-aging industry really threw me for a loop. And I think that one of the things that's happening is you're seeing women come out and speak out against the anti-aging industry that, how do we be anti-aging? It's like being anti-blue sky or anti-green grass. It's happening. We can't rebel against something that's happening. And I think that industry really threw women for a loop. And I think for a while, people really had us convinced that we're better when we're younger. It's just not true. So I'm really glad to see that flip-flopping a little bit. I'm really very interested on leading a conversation about that and on taking women past that, because that whole industry is a lot of a kind of a load of bull, I think.
Yeah, totally agree. I refuse to use the hashtag anti-aging, and I use pro-aging.
Yeah, I'm pro-aging as well. And there's so many women now who are just really taking that to a new level. And I love it. I love seeing it. I'm like, one of my favorite things to do is see women on Facebook who come out and show their hair transitioning. Right? This is like a cool new thing, right? I'm so excited about it. I don't even know what color my hair is because I've been coloring it different colors for so long that I'm almost afraid if I transition right now and I don't have any gray, I'm just going to look really bad. So I'm not even sure what to do with it. But it's one of my funnest things to do is watch these women because they look awesome and they're so proud. So I think that I just love the pro-aging trend. I think it's super cool.
Yeah, and I have to share with you, listeners, if you're on the Flipping 50 Facebook page, you already know this, but one of the most commented on, liked, shared posts that I've ever done was a simple, no image text question about gray hair, whether you color, whether you don't, and what your feelings are. And the only parameter I put with comments is I said, no judgment. You can't judge. You can just tell me what you do, how you feel.
Really?
Oh my God, it blew up. Yeah, we are opinionated about it. Yeah.
Yeah, isn't that funny? Now I notice eyebrows are there, right? I have a 21-year-old assistant, and she finally said to me a few weeks ago, listen, I think we got to do something about your eyebrows, which was so funny because I never thought about it. Now I'm fixated on it, right? Right? So between the hair and the eyebrows, and I'm telling you, this is really, it's vital stuff, right? We got to get this right. It affects how we feel. So.
It so does. Okay. So before we wrap up, I ask one last question of all my guests. Is there a question that you wish I would have asked?
Yeah, I wish you would have asked what I would like to give to these lovely ladies who are listening to this podcast.
Oh, gifts, party. Okay. What is it? Yes.
So I'm going to give the book away.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I'm in a pre-launch phase right now. This is a kind of a sweet spot for me. So for about 90 or 100 days, I'm testing a whole bunch of things related to the book. So the Flippin' 50 ladies who I believe are going to love this message get the book for free. So you have to pay to ship it, but awesome. I will pay the postage, but I will give you the book for free. So yeah, that's
super. I'm so excited. Thank you so much. Generous. And where can they grab that?
Yeah. So you can grab it at Flipping50 with a 50. So FLIPPING 50.primetimejuju.com.
Love it. And you all who are, I know you're walking, you're running, you're lifting weights, or you're driving. Do not write this down right now. Do not stop. We will put this in the show notes so you will have the link for sure. And that is to get Hot Flashes, Carpools, and Dirty Martinis, the book, free, just for chipping in the shipping and handling. So generous. Thanks, Juju. Yeah.
So I can't wait to meet all of you ladies, and I'm absolutely thrilled, that you agreed to have me on the show, and just grateful and excited to be here.
Fantastic. It's been just a pleasure, and we have so much more to talk about. We will definitely have you back. So,
thank you.
Listeners, if there's a question that you had that I missed, submit your question, leave it below the show link at flipping50.com, and join us on the Facebook fan page at Flipping50TV. And if you enjoyed this show, please leave a rating in iTunes. It really helps. And then share this with a friend so you can surround yourself with a supportive community of women on the same journey. What are you waiting for? Start Flipping 50 today.